Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, your workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com. Or you can also DM me your questions on my Instagram account at @fitcosgrove_. So let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. I'm considering going on TRT. I am 51 and train 6 times a week. I'm worried I'm going to start losing muscle as I get older. At the same time, I'm worried about losing my hair or getting acne from the weekly testosterone shots. Is there anything I can use to help counter these side effects from occurring? Well, before you consider going on TRT, you should go get your blood work done, because otherwise you're just speculating that your testosterone levels are low. I mean, yes, there are signs that your testosterone levels could be low, low libido, low energy, but it's better just to go and get all your blood work done and see where your test levels are at before you make that decision whether or not you go on TRT. You have to remember, once you go on TRT, it's a lifelong commitment. You can't just go on TRT and come off. I mean, people do, especially people who are trying to get, maybe say guys are trying to get their wives or their girlfriends pregnant. They might come off TRT for a few months just so they can start producing testosterone naturally again, but it's usually not advised unless you really need to. And then you have to go through a PCT, post-cycle therapy, and all this stuff. So I always tell clients, once they're making that decision to go on TRT, it should be a lifelong commitment. So get your blood work done before you decide whether or not that's for you. With that said, when it comes to acne and male pattern baldness, that's more comes down to genetics. You don't know for sure if that's going to happen to you. I mean, I know lots of guys who take testosterone and they're fine. They don't lose their hair. They have no acne whatsoever. And I know other guys who just have taken like one shot. No, actually 2 guys who did this. Their first shot of testosterone, they both got gyno the next day. So it's really, again, it's based on your genetics. So you don't know for sure that you're going to get acne. You don't know for sure that you're going to go bald. With that said, though, if you are running TRT dosages, which is usually about anywhere from 100 to 150 milligrams per week of testosterone, chances are you're not really going to get any adverse side effects from that. Again, I'm not saying that you should go on TRT therapy. I'm just saying the chances of you actually having any adverse side effects from such a low dosage are minimum. So anything you can do in case you're at risk for that. I don't know when it comes to if losing your hair. I mean, there are some different drugs out there that you can probably try to help keep your hair. But as far as acne, I mean, I would just go and get it on a good skincare routine. Make sure you're washing your face at least twice a day, especially if you're someone who works out. I usually recommend people who work out shower at least twice a day. I like to shower 3 times a day in the summer. It helps us, again, skin gets oily, right? It's hot outside. So that's all I'd recommend. But again, I can't stress this enough. Don't just go on TRT unless you get your blood work done, okay? So go get your blood work done and then decide, okay, you and your doctor make that decision. Should I go on TRT? And if that's the case, what should my dosage be? Play around with that dosage with your doctor and then go from there. But I really don't think you have to worry about going bald unless you're genetically prone to go bald or acne from TRT dosages. No. Okay. Hi, Nick. I just competed in my first natural show and took 4th place in my class, which was figure. I dieted for 16 weeks, and ever since the show ended, I can't stop eating. I'm always hungry and craving sugar. My coach says this is normal and is just a post-show rebound, but I've already added on 14 pounds in 1 week and now have lost motivation to go to the gym. She tells me just to eat and train and my body will eventually return back to normal. Do you agree with her advice? Okay, so post-contest rebound, for those people that don't know, is if you've been dieting for a show like this person has for 16 weeks, most of my clients go diet for about 12 weeks for shows, you're in a fairly severe caloric deficit for a prolonged period of time. So your body has become very sensitive to calories, macronutrients again. So when you start reintroducing more calories into your diet, your metabolism has slowed down from all that dieting. So what's happening now is that because you're reintroducing all those calories, your body's so sensitive and you're putting on weight, but most of that weight is going to be water weight. It's very difficult to put on 14 pounds of body fat in 1 week. Okay, you have to remember there's 3,500 calories in a pound. So unless you're eating a surplus of 10,000 plus calories a day, 7 days a week, it's not going to be fat. I don't know what that was. So, I mean, you don't have to worry too much about that being fat. Most of it's going to be water. Now, the thing is, the post-contest rebound is very common. Okay, a lot of competitors go through that. A lot of people who train for events, like if they're leading up for like a marathon or a wedding, or then they're in a severe caloric deficit for a prolonged period of time, when that event is over, now it's like, okay, what do I do next? So I get that when this person says, I don't have motivation to go to the gym because the event is over. What's there to train for now? And that's why I always tell my clients, what's your next goal? So if you've been training for 16 weeks for this show, 2 weeks before this show, you and your coach should say, okay, well, what's your goal after the show? It doesn't have to be another show. It can be, you know, my goal is to maintain, let's say your weight is 130 pounds. I want to maintain 130 pounds for the remainder of summer. That should be your goal, right? Just throwing that out there. So there should always be a next goal in mind. That's one thing. Now, when it comes to what you should do for your post-contest rebound, what I always advise all my clients to do is drink tons of water. Your body is gone through such a severe caloric deficit for such a prolonged period of time. So what it's going to need right now is a lot of fluid and good nutritional calories. Okay, so you got to watch the junk food. I know you get the cravings for the sugar, but you really have to keep that under control. One thing I recommend doing is making sure that your healthy fats are in check, because remember, healthy fats are going to help stabilize blood sugar levels. So if your blood sugar levels are stable, you're not going to be spiking your insulin levels throughout the day, craving crap, craving sugar, craving junk food. So just make sure that you're hydrating your body, lots of water, and again, making sure you're getting in lots of healthy fats. That'll help. That'll help control those sugar cravings, and again, will stop you from going overboard with the calories. Definitely watch your carbohydrates post-show rebound. Now, one thing is, I always like to take advantage of the post-show rebound when I used to compete. I used to feel like so energized because now I can eat normally again, relatively normally again. I don't have to worry about being in such a caloric deficit. So I find I have more energy to go to the gym. So I agree with your coach in saying just get to the gym and keep going to the gym and train, but you need to have a goal. Okay, it's so important to have a goal. So whatever that goal is, it could be, like I said, maybe just to maintain a certain body weight for the remainder of summer and then start adding on some more muscle for fall and winter. But if you don't have a goal, it's very easy to lose track and lose sight of what you want to accomplish. And there you lose that motivation, like what's happened to you, and you have a hard time going to the gym. So the post-contest rebound, it can go two ways. I've seen it go really bad for some people, and I've seen it go really good for people. And I've been on both ends of the spectrum. My first bodybuilding show, after I was done the show, I ate everything I could find, everything. And I put on, God, I think probably 30 pounds in like 2 weeks. And again, most of it was water. Some of it was muscle and some of it was fat, but it didn't feel good. It felt really uncomfortable. My joints hurt. I was sweating. It didn't feel good. But that's why I say drink water, because you want to flush out that water. So the more water you drink, your body will just release that water. Okay. So my recommendation, get yourself into that gym, set a new goal. Make sure you're consuming lots of healthy fats. Make sure you're consuming lots of water. And I would talk to your coach more about giving you a post-contest rebound program. All my clients who work with me for competitions, I always give them a post-contest post-contest diet to follow for at least 2 to 3 weeks, because I always compare it to like landing a plane. You don't just nosedive. You want to land the plane smoothly, right? So the show is over. Now we want to make sure we bring you back down and ease those calories back in again, right? That's all. So it's not that complicated, but you definitely should have a plan post-show or post any event. Same thing I tell a lot of the women I train for their weddings. That's a big event, and I have a lot of women I train throughout the year for their wedding. And the same thing, I say, okay, we have to have a goal after the wedding. We can't just shit the bed on the diet and now just go eat where we want because all the photos are done and the event's over, right? So we have to set a new goal. So keep setting goals. All right, next question. Nick, do you have any clients that notice they can't eat the same foods they used to eat when they were younger? Every time I eat out at restaurants or have some pizza, I always feel tired and I'm a bit nauseous the next day. Is this due to age? It can be. I truly believe that we all develop certain allergies to foods, certain foods, I should say, as we get older. I've noticed that for a lot of people I work with. There's people I work with who I mentioned this last week on the channel, who when they were younger, they were in their 20s, they could consume dairy, no problem. Now they're in their 40s and they have problems digesting a simple thing of like a glass of milk. They get bloated, right? They get gassy and become lactose intolerant. I have other people who they can't digest quinoa. I mentioned that last week on last week's Q&A. So I do believe that certain foods we develop allergies to as we get older. I don't really know the reason for that. Okay. There's a lot of conflicting information out there, and I'll be honest, I don't know why that happens as we get older. Some of it could be environmental factors as well, right? Another thing though too is if you're someone who's a relatively clean eater and you eat mostly clean foods throughout the week, and then on say a Saturday you go and you have burgers and fries or pizza and you have or go to KFC or whatever you do with your food, that can really mess up your system, because your body is so used to having that clean, nutritious, wholesome food coming in, and all of a sudden you're throwing in all that dirty food. It's like having a really clean house and someone's coming into your house and messing it all up. Whereas someone who follows a relatively bad diet throughout the week and they're constantly eating fast food and they're going out for takeout and they're having Chinese food, or they're having like burgers, fries, pizza, ice cream, cake, everything, and they have it every day, their body is probably not going to respond at all when they have more junk food. It's just so used to just feeling like crap and feeling lethargic and even have that sugar high, and that's what their body's used to. So for someone who eats relatively clean, it's definitely a disturbance to your body, disrupts your system. So with that being said, if you are going out to eat those foods every so often, I would recommend taking a daily probiotic, and there's tons out there. And on top of that, a digestive enzyme. So I usually advise my clients to take a digestive enzyme after a cheat meal. And that usually will help with bloating, constipation, nausea, especially, again, like I said, if you're someone who eats relatively clean throughout the week, your body's not going to be used to that type of food. So to answer that question, I don't know why we develop allergies to certain foods as we get older. But I do notice if a lot of people I work with, that they just can't eat certain foods they used to. And some of it's good food too. Like I mentioned, quinoa. I've had people that can't even consume oatmeal anymore. So it's not always bad foods, just the way your body is now operating. Now that you're getting older, there's certain foods you can no longer tolerate. And there might be certain foods that you can tolerate now, right? I know when I was younger, I couldn't digest eggs well at all. Now I eat them every day. No problem. I don't know why. It's just, they're fine now. So maybe my body built up a tolerance to them. So you have to play around with your diet. But if you are someone, like I said, if you follow a fairly clean diet year round, and every once in a while you go and you have some junk food, or you're going out for a restaurant or for dinner, and the food's not going to be so good, my recommendation, take a daily probiotic. And on top of that, take a digestive enzyme post cheat meal or post when you're at the restaurant, whatever. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. I've been having some problems with my right shoulder, and as a result, cannot train chest or shoulders right now. I've been seeing a physio, and it's been helping a bit, but I'm still pretty bad. My physio recommended I go for a cortisol injection. I'm a bit apprehensive to do this, though, as I don't want to make the problem worse. What do you think about cortisol injections, and have you ever done one? I don't like them, and no, I have never done one, and nor would I ever do one. My experience working with people who have gone for cortisol shots, not good. So what happens is once they have the shot, they feel great. It's like, oh, wow, the pain's gone. The pain is like gone instantly. And what happens is people come back, and it's like gives you like a false sense of security, because all of a sudden that pain in your shoulder is completely gone. You're like, wow, I can go back and do shoulder press. I can do bench press. I feel great. I can do push-ups, and everything feels good. And in a few weeks, maybe a few months down the line, cortisol shot wears off. The problem is always much, much worse. I have yet to have a client who's done a cortisol injection that has had positive results long-term. It's like the keto diet, long-term. Everyone raves about it short-term. Oh, it's great. I feel amazing on it, but it doesn't last. And again, it gives you that false sense of security. So you're not letting, in this case, you're not letting your shoulder recover properly because you're just giving it that shot. So you're kind of just putting a Band-Aid over it, and you're not letting it go through the stages it needs to go through to recover, which is, working with a physio, maybe seeing an RMT once or twice a week, and just giving it the active rest that it needs to recover. So I would advise you not to do the shot. Now, I'm not, again, that's up to you, but I personally wouldn't do it. I don't like anything that gives a false sense of security, because again, you go back and you feel great, and all of a sudden that wears off and you're like, oh my God, this is like 10 times worse. And then it gets worse and worse and more scar tissue builds up. And then there comes a point, yeah, you keep going back for shots, but after a while, those shots don't work. And I've seen that as well. I worked with one client who was doing cortisol shots for close to 20 years and doesn't feel a thing anymore when she goes for them. They don't help at all. So I'm not a huge advocate of using them. I really don't like them. I believe in letting the muscle, the tendon, the joint, whatever you're working with, recover naturally. Go to your physio, go to RMT, do some active release work on it. And yeah, it's going to take some time, but you know what? Once it's healed, it'll heal for good, you know, unless you're injured again, but let it heal it properly. Okay. Rest, recover, rehabilitate it properly. Don't just go for the quick fix. Okay. Hi, Nick. I just did my first leg workout with you the other day and still can barely walk. I know you said this is normal, but how come my legs are still sore after an entire week? Is this really normal? Absolutely. It definitely is. I've had people train legs with me, and I always warn them. I'm like, listen, if we train legs on a Saturday, you're going to be sore on Sunday, but you're going to be more sore on Monday, because DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, typically takes about 48 hours to kick in. And I always warn people, be very careful going upstairs, but even be more careful going downstairs, because your legs will just buckle. They'll just go. And the reason when people train with me anyway, why their legs are so sore is I'm a huge advocate of using high volume exercises, high volume training in my leg workouts. So you talk to anyone who's in my leg classes or trains legs with me privately, we'll get anywhere from 48 to 52 sets for legs in 60 minutes, once a week, not 2 or 3 times a week, because the way that we train legs is so intense. We use full range of motion. It's not even about the heavy weights. It's more about using full range of motion, making sure you're programming accordingly, following proper sequences. And in my opinion, that's the best way to train your legs. I've said this from day one. I've always been a little bit fearful of leg days. I've always had a little bit of anxiety before my leg workouts, and that's because legs are hard. If you train them properly, legs are hard. If you train them right, they should be sore for a week. So by the time you've done your workout, let's say on Saturday for legs, you should be ready by the following Saturday for legs. But there's no way you'd be ready on like a Wednesday or Thursday. If you are, you didn't train them hard enough. So yes, this is normal. It does get a little bit easier, though. Anyone who trains regularly will tell you that it does get somewhat easier, a little bit more bearable. But in all my years of training, there's not much you can do from a sore leg day. People will say, well, cardio will help. Epsom bath salts will help. I've tried both. For me personally, neither works. You might have some better luck with that, but I just go through the pain. You do get used to it. What I find, though, does help for me is just to keep moving. So the worst thing to do is sit after a leg workout. So usually what I advise clients to do is after the leg workout, move as much as you possibly can, because you want to flush as much lactic acid out. So the best thing you can do is move. So to an extent, cardio can help. It doesn't even have to be cardio. It could just be walking around. That will help too. But try to stay, movement works. Try to stay active. That's what I'd recommend. But yes, it is normal to be sore for legs for 5 to 6 days after an intense leg workout. Absolutely. Okay. Hi, Nick. How do you stop yourself from mindless snacking? I tend to overeat a lot at night while watching TV, and I'm not even hungry. I'm good on my diet during the day, but once I'm home and relaxing, it gets out of control. Stay busy and don't rely on boredom and comfort foods to relax you. What I mean by that is, don't associate relaxation with food. Okay. It's like when people reward themselves with food. Same thing. I tell clients all the time, don't reward yourself with food. If you lose 2 dress sizes, reward yourself with a new outfit, right? If you lose, 2 inches in your waist, reward yourself with like a new pair of shoes. Like, find something else to motivate you to get to your weight loss goals. Don't reward yourself with food. So the same thing. I try to not associate relaxation with food. Okay. Unless I'm being social and I'm at a restaurant, of course. But if I'm at home, no. Another thing, again, I'll comment on is one thing I find that helps with snacking is, again, to make sure that your fats, I can't stress this enough. If you make sure that your fats are in check, a lot of people don't realize they don't have enough healthy fats in their diet. Fats will allow you to stay fuller for a longer period of time. So what I like to do with a lot of my clients on a nutritional plan, especially towards the end of the day, I'll backload the fats. So I'll throw in some peanut butter, some eggs, some avocado towards their last 2 or 3 meals, because I want them to stay fuller for a longer period of time. And I don't want their blood sugar levels to drop, especially when I know they're going to be at home at night and they're going to be relaxing, and all of a sudden the food is right there in front of them. It's easy to get. Most people during the day, they're working, right? So they're staying busy. So they're not focused on food. So to stop mindless snacking, I strongly advise you to backload your fats towards the end of the day. That really helps. Portion control is huge. That's why I don't believe in snacking. I believe in having small meals throughout the day. And that way it's like, oh, instead of having a snack, I have my pre-made meal ready to go. Okay. But that's what I would do. I'd strongly advise you to make sure you're doing a lot of fats towards the end of the day. That will help. Okay. And then again, try to stay busy. Okay. When I'm at home, I really try to just stay busy as I can. I don't really sit much and just sit there and watch TV. I'm always doing something, always working, email, doing a podcast, and just keep them busy and say, oh, it's time for another meal, have my meal and keep going. Okay. So again, I would try my best not to just get out of that habit of having comfort food when you're sitting at home, relaxing, watching a movie. Relax and watch a movie, but don't associate it with food like popcorn and chips. You don't need to have those two to enjoy the movie, right? So backload on the healthy fats. Even if you're throwing like a peanut butter shake at night, I have a lot of people doing that, like a peanut butter protein shake at night. That'll help. It just keeps you feeling fuller for a longer period of time. I wouldn't advise doing too much carbs at night, not because I believe that carbs after 6 will make you fat or anything like that, just because carbs will spike, even complex carbs to a degree will spike your insulin level. So it's going to make you crave more carbohydrates throughout the night. So if you don't want to do that, keep the carbs low, increase your fats, keep your protein relatively high throughout the day, and that should help. All right, next question. Okay. Nick, does it upset you when a client decides to stop working with you? I can't help but take it personal when someone decides to not renew their workout package with me. It's from another personal trainer who's a good friend of mine. No, I don't take it personal. Listen, my style of training is not for everyone. Your style of training is not for everyone. That doesn't mean you're a bad trainer. I have a lot of people that, it's going to make me sound bad, but I've had a lot of people that have left me over the years. Some have come back, some haven't, and I still have great relationships with them. They're on my Instagram, they're on my Facebook. They still like my photos. I like their photos. We're not enemies. It's just they want to try something new, and I'm all for that. I've never had any anger towards anyone who's decided to leave me and go work with another trainer or another training company. Absolutely not. You can't take it personal. You cannot take business personal. If you take business personal, in my opinion, you'll never be successful at it. Okay, because a lot of times, maybe someone doesn't like you. Okay, not everyone's going to like you. I'm sure there's people that watch my channel and don't like me at all. In fact, I know there's people that watch my channel that don't like me at all, and I'm okay with that. I don't lose sleep over it. It's fine. So when it comes to your training, you just do the absolute best that you can as a personal trainer and coach. I know that you're giving it your all to your clients. And at the end of the day, like I said, not everyone's going to like your style of training. That's fine. Not everyone likes every type of restaurant, right? It's just like, I don't like going to, let's say, a Cactus Club. That's not really my type of food. But maybe I'll go to, like here we have another restaurant, like Joe Forte's, like a seafood place. So I'll go to that type because I like that type of food. But that doesn't mean I hate the Cactus Club. It's just not my type of food. So it's, you can't take it personal. And I know when you're selling a service or when you're offering your services, I should say, it can be personal, especially when you establish a relationship with somebody. But I've learned from a very young age not to take business personal. And even though I'm friendly and I like to think that I'm friends with a lot of my clients, it's still a business relationship. My goal is to help them achieve their goals, right? That's my goal. So if I'm doing everything I can as a trainer, as a coach, if I'm holding them accountable for their workouts, if I'm checking in with them on their nutritional plans, I'm doing everything I can. They're adults. All my clients are adults. I don't work with kids. So if they miss a check-in, I'm not going to chase them down for it. If they come 20 minutes late for a workout, I'm not going to lecture them about it. They know. Okay. So if someone leaves my company or leaves me as a trainer, I don't take it personal. You can't take it personal. And, fortunately for me, I don't think I have any clients or ex-clients that hate me. I don't think I do. It just didn't work out. When I talk about the people that don't like me, they're not clients of mine, or they were never clients of mine. But it's, again, you have to let it go, because if you beat yourself up over these little things, you're going to start questioning yourself. You're going to start questioning your own abilities as a coach, trainer. And if you know you're good, and I do know you're good, then you don't have to worry. So it has nothing to do with you. It's just, you're not there. It's not a good fit. That's all it is. Just not a good fit. So move on. And the way I look at it is, now that opens up a spot in my roster for someone who does want to work with me, right? Or if it's a group class participant and we have a group class that's full, now someone can move into that group class that wants to join the class. So I never stress out about that. Okay. It's going to happen, and it happens to everyone. And if you're a trainer, coach out there and say, oh, it's never happened to me, you're lying, because if you've been in the industry for at least a minimum of 10 years, you're not going to make everyone happy. You're not going to keep every client you've ever had. It's not going to happen. So look the other way, keep going, and just keep working on yourself as a professional, as the coach, and keep improving your own skills and your teaching abilities. Okay. Nick, do you recommend following the same diet on the days you are not training in the gym versus the days you are training in the gym? Very good question. Okay, so that's case dependent. So let's say I'm working with someone who wants to lose weight, and they're training in the gym 4 times a week. What I'll typically do with someone like this, I'll suggest to them, okay, we're going to put you on a 5 to 6 meals program a day. During the days that you train, I want you to have all 5 or 6 of those meals. During the days that you don't train, I want you to choose 4 of those meals to have, and only have the other 2 meals if you're hungry. Chances are that when you're not exercising, like you're taking a rest day, you're not going to be as hungry because you're not exerting as much energy. So therefore, you're not going to require as much calories. So that's what I'll typically recommend with someone who's trying to lose weight. Now, if I'm working with someone who's trying to gain weight, it's another story. On their rest days, I'll still try to keep those calories relatively high. So I'll try to get them to continue along with the diet as is. So it really depends on the person that I'm working with. I have some people I work with, their metabolisms are nuts. They're like my metabolism. My metabolism is crazy. If I don't consume at least 5,000 calories a day, I'll lose 2 pounds. And that's just the way my genetics are now. It's just my metabolism is so fast. Whereas I work with other people and I have to put them on fairly low caloric nutritional plans just to get them to drop the weight down. So if they're not exercising on those days, what I'll typically do with those people, I'll recommend that they try to take out 1 or 2 meals. And obviously, if they're hungry, I want them to eat. I always tell my clients, I don't want you to starve. So if you're hungry, you eat. But most people, they'll find that when they're not exercising, they're not as hungry, and therefore they don't need those 5 or 6 meals. So it's actually harder for the guys and the women who have to eat those 5 or 6 meals, or in some of my clients' cases, 8 meals per day, because they're trying to put on weight. So it's more challenging sometimes for those people because they have to constantly eat food just to put on the weight. And on the days they're not training, they're not hungry, they have to kind of force feed themselves the food. So it actually gets a little bit more challenging. It might sound fun for a lot of people who, are on these restricted diets and can't eat that money or can't consume as many carbohydrates, for example. But I'll tell you what, after you go on a diet where you're just constantly eating, you get really sick of it after 2 weeks. So it goes both ways, right? But yeah, so to answer that question, if you are someone who's trying to lose weight, and let's say you're following a 5 to 6 meals per day, I would recommend taking out at least 1 or 2 of those meals, and on the days that you're not working out. And if you're trying to gain weight, my recommendation would be to keep the calories pretty much the same throughout the week. I mean, if you're doing a post-workout shake or something like that, you could probably skip that on the days you're not training. But other than that, I would keep all the meals in. Okay. So trying to lose weight, take out 1 or 2 meals on the days that you're not training. Trying to gain weight, keep those meals in. All right. Okay. Another nutrition question. Nick, would it be better to mix vodka with Coke Zero or regular Coca-Cola? My friend says Coke Zero is worse due to the aspartame content and that it's more safe to just stick with regular Coca-Cola. What would be the better option of the two? Okay. I'm going to say this right now. I'm not an advocate or a fan of using aspartame. In fact, I try to limit my own aspartame consumption. So and my client's consumption. I do not believe aspartame is as dangerous as we've been told from many. I think if you have it in small quantities, it's fine. Now, if you're drinking 4 liters of diet pop a day, no, that's not good. But if you're going out once a week for a few drinks and you want to have some, Coke in your vodka, I would strongly advise you to stick to Diet Coke over regular Coke. You have to remember, for regular Coke, I think it's like for a 7.5 ounce can, it's like 25 grams of sugar. That's a hell of a lot of sugar. And when you are looking at a nutrition label, the one thing I always tell all my clients, the one thing that you should always look at before anything else is the sugar content. And if it contains more than 5 grams of sugar, I don't care if it's natural sugar, put it back per serving. The human body, the average active male, active female, we do not need more than 25 to 30 grams of sugar per day. And that includes natural sugar. Okay. So you have that 1 can of Coke, there goes your daily allowance. Okay. And that's not natural sugar. So it's way worse to have the regular Coke than the Diet Coke. Obviously, I would prefer that you have neither and just have your vodka with soda water. That'd be way better. But if you're someone who wants to have something different, I would stick with the Diet Coke. And not because I'm promoting aspartame here. It's just because I feel, and I'm well aware of the new studies that have come out on aspartame this week. So I don't need someone sending me the information on that. I actually have a blog coming out next week about that. Okay, so we'll cover that on another date, or we'll cover that next week. But at the same time, I can't stress enough, when you go and you have regular pop, that is so bad. Never mind for your health, it's terrible for your teeth. Sugar is not good. Added sugar, processed sugar, the worst thing you could put in your body by far. So if you're going to go with a chaser or a mixer for your vodka, my recommendation, stick to Diet Coke over regular Coke. But if you're having vodka, by far the best, in my opinion, the best solution would be to just go with regular club soda water. Mix it with that. There's no sugar at all in that. No calories in that either. And tastes fine. That's my recommendation. All right. We have one more question. I just saw it. Here it is. Nick, what's the worst accident or injury you have ever seen while training clients in the gym? There's been a few, but I'd say the worst accident I've ever seen in the gym in my 20 plus years of working with people is when I had a client that actually passed away on the gym floor. And that happened back in 2017. Now, that was fairly traumatic. I wrote a blog about it actually, because it was just so many people knew about it. A lot of my clients knew about it. A lot of the trainers of the gym knew about it. I mean, it happened. It was a really, really traumatic incident. Essentially, I was training my client and his wife, and the workout had ended. Everything seemed fine. And I was starting my next session, and my client who passed away, he was sitting on a bench, and he had mentioned to me that he wasn't feeling very well. And so I went over to get him some water, and I turned around and he was holding his throat. And so I just automatically assumed he was choking. And so he went bright purple. So I ran up to him, asked him if he was choking. Then he fell over and he started to convulse on the floor. And the whole incident was really scary. We got the defibrillator out. He had passed out within probably about 90 seconds. We called 911. Defibrillator unfortunately did not work. The paramedics came, EMTs arrived, and I don't know at what point I was in the room with the EMTs, but I think he was stable at some point. But at once, I think it was probably, I want to say, everything happened so fast. I want to say within like 5-6 minutes upon their arrival, they had him in the ambulance, and I believe he passed away on his way to the hospital. And what happened was he had an aortic aneurysm. So it was really scary. He was a great guy too. He was one of my favorite clients to train. Funny guy. I still to this day work with his wife, but he was a great client. Really, I always enjoyed working with him. But I mean, I don't think necessarily that it was, well, I know that the workout did not cause it, but an aortic aneurysm, I mean, it's a fairly serious thing. And unfortunately, it's hard to test for them. They can be tested for, but the workout may have triggered it. But from talking to the doctors, from what they told me, this would have eventually happened regardless of the workout or not. So it was very sad. It was super traumatic for everyone involved. I mean, his wife, people who were there, the trainers. Um, but that by far was definitely for me the most scariest thing that I've ever witnessed on the gym floor. Um, yeah, it was sad. Um, to this day, I still think back at that, and it's still, you can tell right now, like I have a hard time talking about it, and it's not easy to see that. Um, but besides that incident itself, I've, knock on wood, I've never had a client seriously injure themselves in the gym. I've never had someone dislocate a shoulder. I've never had someone tear a bicep or hamstring or anything like that. I've seen other people in the gym do things like that. None of my clients. I've seen people do some pretty stupid shit in the gym over the years, but I haven't seen anyone seriously injure themselves. Fortunately, I should say, when I've been around. But my client passing away on the gym floor, that was pretty traumatic. So by far, that was the absolute worst thing that I've ever seen while working on the gym floor. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Tuesday. I believe it will be July the 18th. Remember, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me those questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you all for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting my business, and thank you for supporting my online training app. I really appreciate it. Everyone have a great night. Bye for now.